Alright, hello everyone, Shurue here again, this time with my Nintendo games collection, with games ranging from the GameCube up to the Wii U. I don't own any Nintendo 64 games as of yet. That is in my plans to get down the road, but as of now, I don't actually have a system I could play them on, so there's not much point. Alright, so starting from the top. This was this wasn't my first exposure to this franchise. I had played games in this franchise beforehand, but I had never actually finished one. This was the first one in the franchise that I actually finished. It was released on 2 different consoles. That is Twilight Princess for the GameCube. Now, I had initially owned the Wii version. I was one of the people who owned it for the Wii back when it came out. I recently picked up the GameCube version because I prefer the GameCube controls to the Wii controls. That's basically the only reason. So, yeah, this game is really fun. I really enjoyed it. It is not my favorite Legend of Zelda, but it is really high up there. I do thoroughly enjoy it. I like the realistic take. I don't think it's overly dark. I think they pulled it off rather well. The only thing that I will say about it that I wish they had done is implemented something with a young Link. I'm not entirely sure what that could have been. But if they could have done something, I don't know, it probably would have added to the experience. Alright, this next game, I know it has its flaws. I am very aware that it has its flaws. It is by no means perfect, but it is one of my personal favorites. I guarantee it's because of nostalgia. I can tell you that right now, for the most part. But there are also other reasons that I thoroughly enjoy this game. That is Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. Now, the thing that I like about this game so much, the storytelling in this game is so subtle. Now, a lot of this is just conjecture, really, because there's not a lot here. It's a lot like the original Final Fantasies, because, yeah, it leaves a lot to the imagination. Even I would argue a little too much. However, the things that it does that you come up with in your imagination based on the elements given in this game are really interesting, and it gives you a unique perspective and a unique inside look into the lore of Middle-earth, because you've got, well, Idriel. Idriel has a connection to Gandalf, and that's interesting. We don't get to see that very often. I mean, yeah, it's not exploited all that much, but then there's Barethor's connections to both Sauron and Saruman. His story is very interesting. Osgiliath is an amazing zone in the game. It's the climax of the game, really. If this wasn't based on the trilogy, the game would have ended in Osgiliath, and it would have been much better. The ending in this game is terrible. I'm not gonna lie about that. That's just how that is. But overall, the game is really fun. I play this probably about once a year because it's a really fun game. Now, this next game actually just arrived today. I don't have a lot of experience with this game in particular, but I do have experience with the franchise. That is Mario Kart Double Dash. Basically, I have a lot of respect for the Mario Kart franchise. Mario Kart 64 is still my favorite, although I really enjoy Mario Kart 8. I have not played much, if any, of Double Dash. I'm not actually sure. But I'm interested to see how it plays with the whole gimmick of having 2 items. So that should be interesting. Now, this next game, it's a Mario game. It was relatively difficult to find compared to basically everything else that I have. Because it wasn't just the game that I was looking for, it wasn't just the booklet, I was also looking for the extra gear that came with it, which was surprisingly hard to find a combination that included all of those things. But I did find it eventually. I am, of course, talking about Mario Party 7. This is the only Mario Party that I've ever really played. Thoroughly enjoyed it back in the day, and I don't know, yeah, it seemed like something worth having in my collection, so I picked it up relatively recently. I think it showed up in the mail last week, actually. Now, this next game, admittedly, I probably should have bought on the original Xbox so that I could play it with the 360 controller, but the GameCube controller is still really good for a game like this, so it's okay that I bought Marvel Nemesis Rise of the Imperfects for the GameCube. I have some experience with this game, not much, and it's been a very long time since I played it, but I remember having fun with it. I remember it being a competent fighter. So I figured, yeah, I'll give it a shot again. It's been years since I've played it. Now, this next game is a collection of games that I have never played. I have not touched this franchise at all, as far as gameplay goes. And that's why I bought this. It's the Mega Man Anniversary Collection. I plan on getting the X Collection as well, which is going to cost an arm and a leg, but not the point. So yeah, I have the Mega Man Anniversary Collection, which comes with, I believe, Mega Man's 1 through 6. Not sure if it says it here, but anyway, yeah. I think it comes with Mega Man's 1 through 6. So, Mega Man Anniversary Collection. I'm interested in the Mega Mans. I'm curious. So yeah, I'm gonna try them out. Now, this next game is basically, if I had to make up a list of games that defined my childhood, this game would be on that list by far. Actually, a lot of these games would be, but this game would definitely be close to the top of the list. It is my favorite fighting game, one of my favorite fighting games ever made to this day. Super Smash Bros. Melee. Yes, I'm a Melee fan. I prefer Melee to Brawl. I prefer Melee to the original. Melee is my favorite Super Smash. Just the arcadey feel of the game, the way that the whole game was approached. It was very atmospheric. Every time that you got, just to give you an example, every time you got the Challenger Approaches screen, you earned that every time, because there are some really annoying characters to unlock in this game. This game lasted the entire life cycle of the GameCube, and there's a reason for that. It was well made, there was a lot of content, and it lasted a long time. Now, this next game is a prequel. Is the prequel to probably one of the bigger reasons that I bought a GameCube back when I did. So it's why I ended up getting it as well, because I was curious to play this game, and it's a fun game. I enjoy it. It's Sonic Adventure DX. I like it. I don't like it as much as the sequel, which is my favorite Sonic game of all time. But I do enjoy Sonic DX, and I'm very interested in going back to it. It's been a long time since I've played it, so yeah, I'm interested in going back for sure. So I said this game was one of my all-time was my favorite Sonic game, and I meant it. That's Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. This game is amazing. I hate the Rouge and Knuckles missions with a burning passion. But everything else, well, there are some problems with it, for sure, but most everything else in this game is fantastic. The story is actually surprisingly good. It's not overly serious, but it's not ridiculously campy, cartoony either. It strikes a perfect balance so that you can actually respect it, I guess is the word I want to use. Because, yeah, it's a good story that the way it... Really, the only story you need to play to understand what's going on is the hero side, but they include the dark side as well. And Shadow is one of my favorite characters in the Sonic lore, and this game is a large part of why. It handles his character really well. And it's also why I plan on picking up Shadow the Hedgehog, for better or worse, in my GameCube collection down the road. Now, this next game, I don't actually remember all that much. It's been a long time since I played it. There's a lot of that, especially with the GameCube games. I haven't played it in years. I don't remember too much of it. Basically, the only reason I have it is because Link is in the game. You should probably figured this out by now. It's Soul Calibur 2. The only reason I have this game is because Link's in it. I'm gonna say that right now. I don't remember Soul Calibur 2. I remember it being fun. I remember liking it. And I remember Link being in the game, which is reason enough for me to buy it. It's also why I flat refuse to buy the Soul Calibur 2 HD that came out on the PS3 and Xbox 360 that did not include Link, but included the other 2 bonus characters. Yeah, not thrilled about that. Really not. So, yeah, didn't buy that. Bought this instead. And I'm very happy about that. Alright, moving on to the Wii. I have some, and I gotta stress, a very, very small amount of experience with the first game in this series, and I have not touched the other 2. That's the Metroid Prime trilogy. I've heard many good things about it, and I am very interested in playing through it. It is on my list of games to play, which is a lot longer than I'd like it to be, but it is on that list. Actually, I'm not sure it is. I gotta put it on there. Dang it. Making the list longer. Why? Anyway, haven't actually played through it, but I'm interested. I've heard good things. Now, the next game, I've also not played through. It's a collection as well that I'm interested in looking at. It's not so much for completion's sake, so much as to look back at where we've been. It's Super Mario All-Stars. I prefer the Super Nintendo, this version of Super Mario Bros. 3 in particular, so that's one of the reasons why I picked it up. But other than that, yeah, it's a compilation of all the classic Mario games. All the Super Nintendo and Nintendo Mario... Well, I guess it's just the Super Nintendo, isn't it? I'm not sure. But the classic Marios on the Wii, like on a modern system. So yeah, that's that. This next game I have played significantly, but I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be keeping it in my collection or not, because, I mean, the only reason I would keep it is because of the story. That's Brawl. I like it. Kind of. I like the story. What I will say that I don't like about Brawl is it is way too easy to unlock characters. It is mind-bogglingly easy. Super Smash Bros. Melee, you heard me say it before. That game lasted the entire life cycle of the GameCube because it was a ridiculously long and difficult game to unlock the characters for. I unlocked the characters for Brawl in a week. Yeah. You should not be able to unlock the characters in the story. I understand why they did it that way. Me personally, I know this is not a popular opinion, but I would have made the story unlocked after you unlock most of the characters. The only character that I would say you should unlock in the game is Sonic. Like in the campaign. If you unlocked Sonic in that last moment, that would have been amazing. That was well handled because it was like a reveal. Every other character did not need to be unlocked in the story. That's not that was not a good choice. And I don't like the fact that Snake is in this game either. That is just wrong. I've said this before and I'll say it again. He never should have left Sony exclusivity. That's his domain. It does not make sense for him to be in Brawl or Super Smash in general. So, I'm glad he's not going to be in the new one. Now, this next game is a game I have not played. It's on my list. If you've watched my videos, you know it's on my list. It's Final Fantasy III. DS. Because, yeah, the remake. It's awesome. Final Fantasy IV DS is also here. Haven't played that one either, for obvious reasons. This next game is a game I've played for the 3DS. It's one of the reasons I bought a 3DS, actually. I have not finished it yet. It's a work in progress. That is Fire Emblem Awakening. Now, the story in Fire Emblem Awakening, I'm not overly fond of. I don't dislike it. I'm not overly attached to the story. The whole thing about characters dying. The thing that you buy this game for is the gameplay. The gameplay is really fun. I really enjoy the gameplay in Fire Emblem Awakening. With the whole chess, it's a board game. It's a strategy board game that's really fun. I do care about some of the characters, but a lot of them, just because of the way the game is designed, you don't care. Because they're so circumstantial, and they don't actually have that much of an impact on the story, because clearly they can die, and if they are necessary, then their death doesn't matter, and if they do impact the story, then when they die in combat, they don't actually die in the story, so it doesn't actually do all that much. This next game is another reason why I bought the 3DS. Ocarina of Time 3D. I was not happy when I found out this game was just coming out on the 3DS. I was not happy about that at all. Still not. I mean, I'm happy to own a 3DS, but I still want to play this game on my TV. I have not stopped looking for a way to pull that off. But as it stands, that's just not feasible. This is my favorite Legend of Zelda game. This is one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game of all time. It has the best minigames I've ever seen. It has some of the best collectibles I've ever seen. It has one of the best stories in games I've ever seen. And it has the best final boss in a game I have ever seen, by far. And this version of the game is superior to the N64 version in one way. The water dungeon is much easier to do because the iron boots don't have to be put on in the main menu. You can put them on at the touch of a button. So that simplifies the water temple significantly. In fact, it's simplified it to the point where it's not actually that big of a deal. It's still a little annoying, but not nearly as much as it would be on the N64. Alright, so now we've hit the Wii U. I only have 2 games for the Wii U, so we're coming to the end, which is good, because I'm about maxed on my memory here. So, Wind Waker HD. I will freely admit that I had not played Wind Waker before it came out on the Wii U. I had not. I didn't have very much experience with Legend of Zelda. The only Zelda game I had played was the collector's edition of The Legend of Zelda in general for the GameCube, and the only game that I really played out of that was Ocarina of Time. So I had not played Wind Waker until Wind Waker HD came out. So then I bought Wind Waker HD. I bought the Wind Waker HD version of the Wii U, actually. So I had it digitally first. I bought the physical copy just so I could have it in my collection. It's a fun game. I really like it. I would not say that it's better than Twilight Princess or Ocarina of Time, but it is a fun game. For sure. I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack is, like, the selling point of this game. Definitely. Alright, this next game is a game that I have already mentioned in the video. It's a game that I play off and on basically at least once a week. It's Mario Kart 8. This game is awesome. This game is so fun. It's so easy to just slip in and out of. It's not a game that I can sit down and play for hours and hours and hours on end. But I do thoroughly enjoy it. I do feel compelled to get 3 stars on all the cups, on all the speeds, and that's a very long and tedious process that I am nowhere near well on my way of getting at this point. But it's really fun. I haven't done too much exploring with the various racers and kart style. I've actually explored the karts a fair amount, but I haven't explored the drivers all that much. But yeah, it's a really fun game. I thoroughly enjoy it. So yeah, that is my Nintendo collection. I've got one more collection video that may or may not be coming. And other than that, yeah, that concludes my collection videos. And everything else, all the other game collection videos you'll be seeing are basically they'll be unboxings. I plan on doing unboxing videos when I get new games to add to the collection. So yeah. That's that. See you next time.